Today, you are going to learn how can you use math to model problems. You are actually not going to have any independent work today. You're going to do all of this with me, and then you're going to go work on some practice buddies. Make sure you take good notes in your math book. Brad and his father hiked the Gadsden Trail and the Rosebriar Trail on Saturday. They hiked the Eureka Trail on Sunday. We want to find out how much further did they hike on Saturday than on Sunday. So first, since they hiked I'm just going to use a red to help us, the Gadsden Trail and the Rosebriar Trail on Saturday, we need to combine those or add those together first. And then, since it says how much farther, once we have those added up, which they did right here, and you can see the bar diagram. So here's my bar diagram right here. We have, if you look over to the right, it shows you how far the hikes are. So we have the Gadsden Trail, which is 1 9/10, and that's right here. And then we have the Rosebriar Trail, which is 5/10, which we have right here. If we add those together, we have 1 9/10 plus 5/10. So I'm going to write that down right here. We have 1 9/10 plus 5/10. If I add those up, I'm going to end up with 1 14/10. I know 14/10 is an improper fraction, so I'm going to add my 1 plus, I know 10 goes into 14 one time. My denominator's 10. 14 minus 10 is 4, so I'm going to end up with 2 4/10. So I have that right over here, and it says right here that it is 2 4/10. So now, since I know how much they hiked on Saturday, we want to find out how much more they hiked or how much farther they hiked on Saturday than Sunday. So with my second diagram, since I'm using a subtraction problem, I'm going to put my bigger number, since I know they hiked further on Saturday because it says how much further did they hike on Saturday than Sunday. I have my biggest number up here. Then I'm going to look at how long the Eureka Trail is, which is 6/10. So I'm going to subtract 2 4/10 from 6/10. So I'm going to draw a line here, and hopefully I'll have room to write it. So I have 2 4/10 minus 6/10. Make sure you're writing this in your notebook. First step, I cannot subtract the 4 from the 6, so I need to borrow from the 2 and make this a 1 10/10 plus the 4/10. So I'm going to end up with 1 14/10 minus 6/10. And now I could subtract. 14 minus 6 is 8/10, and then I'm going to bring my 1 down. So I end up with 1 8/10, which, is right here. So D is going to equal 1 8/10. So today what you're doing is you're going to use story problems that have multiple steps and picture diagrams to draw out your problems. So now we are going to go ahead and do the guided practice together. After this, I'm going to have you try the independent practice on your own, but I'm also going to do it so you can check your work. All right, you will also have to do these bar diagrams on your math test, so make sure that you're understanding them. Alicia hiked a trail that was 9/10 of a mile, and Joseph hiked a trail that was 5/10 of a mile. How much further did Alicia hike than Joseph? Well, looking at this is just a one-step problem. Since it's saying how much further, I know that I need to subtract. So first, I'm going to draw a bar diagram to represent the problem and show the relationships among the quantities. So if I'm going to draw my bar diagram, on top is going to be my biggest amount, which is going to be 9/10. Let me write that a little bit better for you so you can see it easier. It's kind of hard with this pen. So I have 9/10, okay? So then, since this is a subtraction problem, the biggest number goes on the top. We know that Joseph went 5/10. So we need to find this amount right here. I'm going to call it H for hike. So we don't know what it is. So now we're going to write our equation. So our equation is just going to be, I'm going to actually write it down here so you can see it. And I will draw the bar diagram down here so it's easier to see too. So we have 9/10 here. And we have 5/10 here. And this is just our H, or our variable. So our equation is just going to be 9/10 minus 5/10 is going to equal H. And we can use mental math because we can just subtract 9/10 from 5/10, and we know that our answer would be 4/10. So H equals 4/10 of a mile. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Now we're going to do the independent practice. After I read the problem, if you feel comfortable, pause it, do the work yourself, and then check your work. If you are still confused, you can do all the work with me. So it says, the smallest female spider measures 3/5 of a millimeter in length. The smallest male spider measures about 1/5 of a millimeter in length. We want to find out how much longer is the smallest female spider than the smallest male spider. So this looks just like a one-step problem to me. So first we need to draw a picture and write an equation to represent the problem. When it says to draw a picture, just draw a bar diagram. If you feel confident and you want to try it on your own, just pause it and do it. If not, do it with me. Okay, so if you're doing it with me or you're checking your work, our bar diagram on the top is going to be the biggest number. So since we want to know how much longer, we know we need to subtract. So the biggest one is 3/5. So it should say 3/5 right here. I'm going to also draw it down here so it's easier for you to see. So here's my bar diagram. I'm going to have 3/5 on top. Okay, then I'm just going to draw my little bar. I know that the other spider is 1/5. And this will be my variable. We'll call it an S for spider. And my equation is just going to be 3/5 minus 1/5 equals S. This is a 5 and that's an S. And the S is going to equal 2/5. So I'm going to jump down to number 6. How much longer is the smallest female spider than the smallest male spider? Your answer is just 2/5 millimeters. Okay, let's jump back to number 5. What previously learned math can you use to solve the problem? Well, we know how to subtract. And we know how to use fractions. And that's it. All right, what I'm going to have you do is go back to the practice buddies and you're going to do practice buddy 9-9 and then practice buddy 9-10. If you finish both of those and you feel confident that you understand, you can go ahead and finish your fact practice.